Everything you said they already knew, more or less.
Well, here's something that you didn't know. 2 of those special atomic bombs haven't gone off.
What ho, chappies and stiffs? It's your boy George, and I'm here to teach you how to make a grand cup of coffee. This is for those of you who wanted to apply to be my secretary or my assistant, and this is my first in a series of mandatory videos on what your requirements will be as my assistant / secretary. You can be male or female, doesn't matter, as long as you can fulfill these properly. Alright, let's hop in.
Shut up and sit down.
Here we have a coffee cup, and as you may have already guessed, yes, tea goes in it, but also coffee. So, when I ask you for coffee, this is how you shall begin. First, you pour the coffee in. Now you can't put too much in because you have to save room for the cream. Now, usually, I like to use some rather excellent cream, which is actually just straight up 2% milk that I find at the grocery store. However, someone has drank all of my milk. You'll need this vile replacement for milk if we do not have any milk. This is the only acceptable replacement. Don't give me that soy stuff. Yes, 3 splashes, 3 splooshes, that's what you need for a good cup of joe. Now, you cannot forget the sugar. I'm a man who likes 1 lump from the bag. I like to say that it's 1 lump, that way I don't feel fat. You'll then need a spoon to stir your coffee. Please don't clink on the sides. I hate it when people do that. Especially when you're not clinking on the sides, because then you're not scraping the sugar off the bottoms and the... Please don't spill. Too, that's also important. So pull up your britches, tighten your belt, get ready, this way to the blender! Once you have done all the necessary procedures for getting the cup of coffee to look as it does here, you are ready to move on to the next step. Well, the next volley of steps. You see, there is a plate of marshmallows, sprinkles, and of course, chocolate chips. You must proceed by pouring it in. Try not to spill any. You must then proceed to put in the organic coconut oil. This step is very important, and you are only to put in 1 scoop of it. This is the same spoon we used to stir the coffee the first time. It's important that you do this so that you do not dirty any more spoons. There we have it. After putting the cap on the blender, one may then proceed to blend. Start on low, and then go to high. Then back to low again. And stop. Now that you have done that, you can clearly see that you have created a frothy top, making it very much like a frappuccino. With this newfound glory, you are ready to proceed to the next volley of steps. Taking the Nestle Mini Diblets or whatnot, not sponsored by the way, just how I like it, you shall sprinkle them into the top. Notice that because they are the minis, they get stuck in the top of the froth. Then, the sprinkles. No particular brand is needed, as long as they're colorful. Just a light spritz is all that's needed. Doesn't it look glorious? And finally, last but not least, the marshmallows. Making the joys of adulthood feel like the joys of adolescence once more. That's a cup worth drinking. However, we're not finished yet. To the spice cabinet! Alright, this is the last volley of steps. Here we have a variety of seasonings. Each one is required in this drink, and each one is also mandatory in the proper order. So, you begin with cloves. Cloves goes very well with ground cinnamon, and that is why it is a must-have for this grand cup of coffee. Pay careful attention to the amount I place in the cup. There. Any more than that, and well, you'll be coughing for days. The second in its respective order is ground cinnamon. It's a large container because I like cinnamon, and you always have to have cinnamon on hand. This one we can be a little bit more liberal with because, well, cinnamon is cinnamon. You can't go wrong there. Unless you put it in a spoon and try to eat it. That's the cinnamon challenge, and that's just stupid. Third is crushed red pepper. I do this because it adds a little punch without the flavor of any of the weird spices like buffalo sauce and Texas Pete. I tried those once. It didn't go well with coffee, or the sweet theme that I was going for. But these add the spice without, well, the weird flavor. So, I like things spicy, so you can put however much you want in there. Extremely liberal. It's all left here. Get it? That was the spectrum, political spectrum, yes. Finally, last but not least, pure vanilla extract. And as you can see, the hole for it is actually rather wide, so just be extremely careful. Don't do that. Just a splash. This is not for the faint of heart nor the diabetic, because this is the Kaz and George special. Also, I forgot to mention, failure to complete the tasks in the right order, and all of them, will result in, at first, a stern talking to, second, a talking at, and third, a dismissal. So, this is important. Mandatory watching. Right, bottoms up.
Wait a minute, your mustache isn't real? This is why we never take him to the pub.
And that is how you make a good cup of joe.
Aren't you diabetic?
That is weird. That's gross. That's really nasty. No, that was bad. Don't do that.